Today we're going to talk about easy and affordable gardening growing vertical. And we're going to do that with my power towers. Now, ironically, this one doesn't have power, but my first ones did. And in the near future, I'm going to build some that have a fountain pump and it recirculates the water and that. But to get started, I just want to do these simple ones. They're off-grid, no power. And this is basically for beginners, all the new people, and so everyone can get started, because this is one of the simplest ways I've found to grow food, and it works for a lot of different things, and it's really easy to set up and it's really easy to maintain. Now, if you've got $600, $800, $1,000 to go out and buy the commercial units, that's cool. They work good, they're readily available, they're easy to put together, and they grow lots of food. But me, myself, I don't want to spend that much money when I know I can do it myself. So it doesn't matter what you do as long as you're growing your own food. Now this is going to be more of a quick start guide, so all the new people can get up to speed and everybody can get out there and get a couple of these towers built and get started growing your own food. Because once you get into the system that I'm going to teach you as far as growing microgreens and baby greens and bigger leafy greens and that, once you get doing that over and over, you're going to get hooked. And then once you do that, you're going to be looking for more containers and more stuff to build towers out of. So if you're new and you need more detailed instructions on each one of these subjects, I'll be making future videos about it. And if you're not into plastic, you want more non-plastic hydroponics, I've got a playlist for that too. But right here, this is to get everybody up to speed to learn how to put one of these towers together. Now, I love using the 5-gallon buckets. You don't have to use 5-gallon, you can use 3-gallon, 1-gallon, whatever. It's so versatile, that's what makes it amazing. But I like the 5-gallon because it's a size that you can handle. You put 3.5 gallons in, it only comes over to a little over 25 pounds. So it's not that hard to lift up and stack on top of each other. And the added volume that can fit in there, as opposed to like a smaller cracky container, makes the water stay cool longer. It's like if you have a glass of water and you set it in the sun, something this small heats up really fast, right? But then the swimming pool takes a lot longer for it to heat up. So same concept, you've got more liquid and it's going to take longer to heat up and it's going to keep your roots happier. And that's why I like doing it in the morning sun, where it gets a lot of sun in the morning, and as it gets hotter in the afternoon, you give it shade, and that way that added volume will keep it cool in the morning. And then when it starts to get hot, make sure you got it shaded a little bit. So basically you get the buckets. And the reason why I went with the buckets too is there's a couple of reasons. It doesn't matter what comes in a bucket, they were designed to stack. If restaurants were ordering a bunch of frosting or mayo or pickles or whatever, or painters and drywall compound, everything, these buckets were designed so they could stack up in warehouses. So now we want to take some containers and stack them up. This is the perfect thing. It was meant to be filled up and stacked so high. Now I want to stack it to heaven. I go 3, maybe 4 at the most with mine, but they'll at least get up that high and not be any problem, because that's what they were made for. Now you get the buckets. There's only a couple things you have to do, is drill a couple of holes and then get you a couple of things to hold your plants. And in other videos, you guys have seen me use pool noodles, right? Now, in recent videos, you saw me using these cloning collars. Now, these are what I started with. These are hydroponic cloning collars, and these are meant to hold your plant. Where some people get a little confused, this is not a growing medium. Your plants are not growing in it. This is just holding your plants. It's kind of like a pot holds the plant. Not like rock wool, coco coir, different growing mediums. If you hear growing medium, that means that the seeds are put in there, they're sprouted, and the roots grow through it. It's using this as a medium, as like a replacement for soil. This is not a replacement for soil. This is just holding your plant. So when I started showing this, I had people around the world, because you put stuff on social media, everyone around the world sees it, and they're just flipping out because they can't get this around the world. And even in the United States, if you live along the coast like I do, they're everywhere, right? But inland, it's a little harder to find. So people were starting to order them online, and it was costing more, and you might as well just go ahead and get cloning collars if it comes down to that. So I switched to this, and I want to show people this because almost everyone around the world, hydroponics is known worldwide. Pool noodles really isn't a worldwide thing, and people can get this just about anywhere. It might not look exactly like this one. It might just be a round collar with one little slot, but basically they're the same thing. So you want to get some of these. If I'm going to grow leafy greens, I'm putting about 6 to 8 holes in a bucket. So just multiply that by however many buckets you want. Order some of those and to get you started. If you're using a pool noodle, you can get about 40 or 50 of them out of each pool noodle. Now what you want to do is take this and say this is a 2-inch cloning collar. You want to drill a hole that's a little smaller than it. So I'll go like 1 3/4. So I'll drill a 1 3/4 inch hole into the buckets. Like I said, if I'm growing lettuce, kale, basil, leafy greens and that, I'll put about 6 to 8 holes. Now you don't have to put a plant in every one of them, but you have enough where you can fill it up. I only do 1 row, and you're going to find out why later when we're talking about the nutrients, but I do just 1 row as high as I can get it on the bucket. Some of them have ridges on it, so I go right below the ridges and just get it as high as I can grow without messing up any of the integrity of that bucket. I'm going to be putting some tomatoes into mine, and if you got bigger plants, you don't want to put 8 plants into 1 bucket. You're going to end up just refilling this every couple of hours or something when they get really big. So what you want to do is just put 2 at the most, maybe 2, maybe 3 if it's a dwarf plant, or you're working with like indeterminate or determinate plants. Just make sure that you're not putting too much in there that you're making more work for you than what it should be. So in some of those buckets, I don't need all the extra holes. I'm just going to drill 3. I'm going to put 2 plants in it and leave 1 hole so that I can pull that out and I can see the nutrients. And we're going to talk about maintaining the level in that. But it's going to be an observation hole, but that hole is going to be used for refilling the nutrients. So you've got your bucket and you drill some holes. You decide how many you want to put in there. And then you've got something to hold your plants. You need some nutrients. For years, I've used Master Blend. And if you've seen a lot of my videos, I've got a video on what I use and how to mix it and the links to get it and everything. People around the world couldn't get it for a long time, and that was a little disheartening to me too, because I want people to learn how to do this, and that was the easiest thing I found, because I tried a lot of stuff in the beginning and they work great for hydroponics, the traditional one, with air pumps and circulation and checking your EC and pH levels and monitoring everything and adjusting things. It works great for that, but for what we're doing is just easy passive hydroponics. I didn't find anything that worked really well until I found the Master Blend, and that worked good, and I used it, and it worked on leafy greens, it worked on the tomatoes, peppers, squash, all kinds of other stuff. So I just used that just to keep things simple here. So I'm not saying that something else doesn't work. I just want you guys to learn how to get started, and I want you to get something that I know it works. So if you can get your hands on it, and like I said, it was just in America before, but now there's a place called, I think it's masterblend.euro or something. I'll put a link down in the description. They actually ship worldwide. So that's awesome. So people around the world are able to get this now and try exactly what we're doing. Now, on a side note, all of the stuff you've seen in my recent videos, when we started doing the natural hydroponics, I switched over to General Hydroponics MaxiGrow. And that's for a bunch of leafy greens. And if you look at my videos with the self-watering microgreen growers, that's all grown with MaxiGrow. So that works awesome for all the leafy greens and everything. And they do have Maxi Bloom and different types of hydroponic nutrients. If you want to get into all of that, you can. But if you're just starting out, I want you to keep it simple, because if you get all this information and you get overwhelmed, you're just going to fail and quit. So I want you to just take baby steps. This is just like kindergarten and kids, you know, we don't teach them calculus. So if you can get hold of Master Blend, get hold of that. If you're doing leafy greens, the General Hydroponics MaxiGrow, that's easy. All you have to do is 1 to 2 teaspoons in a gallon of water. You're set. So now you want to get your buckets, and you've got your holes drilled. You fill the nutrients up right to that level, as high as you can get it. And then you're going to need plants. Now, you can go to a nursery and you can go get some transplants, rinse off the roots and put those in. Hit and miss as far as success rates go. I have like really good success. A couple of plants don't make it once in a while, but I get a good success rate with that. And because there's no pumps in this thing and it's not aerating, you're not going to clog anything up, you don't have to worry about getting all of the soil off. So I just rinse most of it off. I don't sit there and try to mess with the roots too much and try to get everything out and tear them all up. I just wash what I can off. just gently, and if there's any big pieces, pull little big pieces off. But I don't sit there and mess with the roots too much, and then I put it inside. That's worked fine for me. So you can do as much as you want, play with it as much as you want. But I find that plants, once they get going and are established, the less you mess with them, the better. And that goes with maintenance. We're going to talk about that important point coming up. So if you get nursery plants, you can do that. You get a little head start. I like using microgreens because you have microgreens growing all the time. If you've been watching this channel, you get microgreens and you take them. We've got the self-water microgreen grower. I've got them growing all the time. You're harvesting some, and in a little tray about this big, there's literally hundreds of plants. So you're taking it, you're harvesting some microgreens. You can take just a small portion like this and take those plants and put those into your power towers. And then you let that go. You harvest some microgreens, you go ahead and plant some more out. And you keep doing this over and over. And before you know it, you're going to have baby greens growing. Then you're going to be harvesting baby greens. And when you harvest those, you can take some more microgreens and put those in. You can leave some of those baby greens to grow to more mature leaves. So you leave those going, and then you get you another tower going, and then before you know it, you've got microgreens going into baby greens, going into mature greens, and the cycle goes over and over. And you're going to find out that once you get this initial thing set up, it's just when you need some more microgreens, it just takes 5 minutes to set up another container, let it set for a couple of days, and then you've got microgreens coming again. And then when you need to transfer them over, you're going to pull them out, put them into here, put them in here. In less than a minute, you can have plants transferred over here. Another minute, a couple of minutes, you're going to have another tower set up. And you're going to find that once you get all these systems set up and the maintenance, we're going to talk about the nutrient level in that here in just a second. Once you get these set up, you're just going to be hooked, and you're just going to be used to having all of these greens and herbs and everything, basil, mint, all of your stuff just growing whenever you want it. You just go out there. You don't have to think about doing a recipe and go, oh, I need some basil, I'm heading up to the store. And then you go and buy a little thing of basil about that big for about $5 or something, right? When you could have bought a whole thing of seeds and had a mountain of basil. Okay, so you've got it all set up. You've got microgreens growing, you've transferred plants over in there, you've got your nutrients in it, and it's set up and they're all growing. What do you do with the nutrient level? Now, in my experience, plants don't like change that much. So these, in the very beginning, when you put a small microgreen in here, these things will sit for a month and you won't have to do anything. Once they start getting a little bigger and start using up the nutrients, you're going to want to watch your water level. And that's why I have the spot where I take this out and I just put my finger in. And if I can touch the nutrient level, I don't do anything. Don't add any. If you can touch it, it doesn't matter if it's where it's at. If you can touch the nutrient level, I just leave it. Now if I go ahead and reach in there and I can't touch it, I start adding nutrients just until it hits my fingertip, and then I stop. Don't fill it all the way back up. Leave that little bit of space. That's where your air roots are going to go. And even if you accidentally go up a little, there's still room. You're not going to be able to go past where the plant is, and then the plant has that space up above it because we're in the side of the bucket instead of the top. It still has room for some air roots, but what I would do is keep it down, let it drop, what's that, about an inch or two. I'd let it go about 2 inches down and maintain that level. And you maintain that through the whole grow. And if you're worried about losing some nutrients at the end, or where can I, people ask if they can throw it on the garden or this or that. Once your plants have been in here a while, they're using the nutrients out of there even if they haven't used up the water. And you don't know what's left in there. It might just be, some water with just trace amounts of nutrients left, or there might be some bad stuff in there. Who knows? But you're not really wasting that much. I found that when you get Master Blend, you buy it in bulk, it comes up to about 25 cents a gallon. And if we're talking about 3 gallons, you're talking about 75 cents in there. So if it's been in there for a couple of weeks, you've grown some plants and you use 75 cents worth of nutrients, it's not really that much. But if you're going over and let it drop and let it drop and let it drop, and then you're like, oh, I need to add some, and you add it all the way back up, everyone knows you drown your air roots, your plants die, right? Now some people add a lot, but they try to leave a little bit for air roots. I think that's a mistake too. I never add more than these 5-gallon buckets. I never add more than 3 quarts at a time. When I get towards the end, sometimes if you don't want to waste a lot, like you said at the end, you don't want to dump out or waste nutrients, you let them use up your nutrients, right? That's when you can start letting it drop, when you have no intention of keeping these things for weeks and weeks and weeks. When you're getting to where you're about to harvest them and you let them go ahead and start dropping, If you keep pulling and they keep growing and then it gets low, I go in there and just add 3/4. 3 quarts, let it use a little. If I need to, I'll dump another 3 quarts in there, just to keep it going until the end. And then that way at the end, you don't waste all that much nutrients. And if you need to, you can just start adding a little bit of water right at the end too, and don't waste any more nutrients. And then all of your grow is done, your nutrients are used up, and you're happy. So that's the basics of getting it set up. Like I said, buckets are awesome. They're readily available. That's why I like to use those and show people, because just about anyone can get a bucket. Firehouse, I was getting my first ones. I just went last week and picked up another one for $3 with the lid. You can't beat that. At the store, one of the food grade buckets with the lid comes to about $12. And Walmart was selling, their deli would sell their ones that had like frosting and different things that they have coming out. I think I had one with garlic butter. Winn-Dixie did too. They'll sell them for $1 with the lid. That's awesome. So look around. Some people went to some delis and bakeries and mom and pop shops around them, and they were happy to give them to them because they were just throwing them in the dumpster, and all of a sudden now somebody's going to take it and grow food in it. That's a good feeling that we're saving stuff from going to landfill, and people are growing food. Somebody knew a caterer, and they just had dozens and dozens of buckets, so they're going to have all kinds of stuff growing. So be resourceful, look around. You'll be able to find the buckets. You can go ahead and find your nutrients. I find mine on Amazon. It's Master Blend. You can look it up. If you need a link, I have a link down below. Your hydroponic collars, you can get those on Amazon too, or any hydroponic supplier will have them. They're common things. Anything that can hold it. If you want to use a loofah, we grew a couple of, when we did the natural stuff with the hydroponics, we grew some with a loofah and just stuck toothpicks in it to hold it. We even used a biodegradable bag just to hold the plant in place. Just wrapped it up and wrapped it around the stem of the plant. It's not a grow medium, it's just holding it. So anything that you can get to hold the plant will work. So you've got that. That's really all you need. It's just a container, your nutrients, and something to hold the plant, and then your plants itself. So a real basic setup. I like it. It's portable. Once you get it set up, you can put it together. Some of the commercial units will have little casters on it, so you can roll them and turn them and all of that. I don't like taking time to turn it. The buckets are easy to turn. I don't turn them and everything. I just plant on the front side, and I leave a little portion in the back, like I said, so that I can go ahead and see inside, and that I can have a place to refill. It just makes it easier for me. If you put them in the wrong spot, you can pick them up and move them. If there's going to be a storm, you can pick them up, bring them in the house, take them, set them back outside. The bigger commercial units, they're kind of set wherever you put them in that. And if they're on wheels, they got to be like on a patio or cement slab. You can't roll them around your garden. These you can take and pick up and set around your garden and move them. If they're getting too much sun somewhere, you can move them to where it's like partial shade. Or if you put them up somewhere and didn't get enough sun and the plants aren't growing, you can pick them up and move them. Or you can be really industrious and put them in the sun in the morning, get all the sun they need, and when they start getting a little warm, move them, whatever you like to do. So lots of different things you can do with this. Easy to set up, easy to maintain, and it grows a load of food. You guys get out there. We've got lots more information coming. We're going to be setting a lot of these up. We're going to be doing some with the pump, some without. Put your questions down below. We're going to have different videos on each one of the subjects that I talked about. Then people asked about like wind and how do you secure them, mosquitoes, algae, different things like that. We're going to address in different videos. But basically, just to get this set up and get you guys growing food, this is all you need to know. Just find you some buckets, get you some cloning collars and nutrients, and start growing microgreens, because you should have microgreens growing all the time. Oh, I also have the video talking about the seeds and how much money you can save by buying microgreen seeds in bulk as opposed to little seed packets, and that makes all the difference in the world. So if you made it this far in this video, make sure you go watch that one on seeds and how much you can save, because it is just mind-blowing. All right, you guys get out there, share this with everyone. We all need to be growing our own food. Get out there, lift, inspire, keep on growing, be the change. We'll talk to you later.